Hey there, everyone. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been on here. It's been 5 months. Last time I was here was in February. I made a little nice video about Felix Puiset, which is a fictional character in a novel written by a friend of mine, Nikki Boyd, who lives in Vancouver. We've become friends since we took a class together a few years back. Anyway, I'll probably talk about her again in this video for other reasons. But one of the reasons it's been so long is because, I just felt I wasn't doing these videos for the right reasons anymore. And I've described this in that last video or the one before, maybe, where what I talked about seemed more planned. And just didn't find the benefit anymore of the working out process in my head that I was trying to achieve with those videos. So kind of forcing myself to reflect upon what's going on and why it's going on, especially. And during all that time, too, ever since I had my fall in December, all the way till the end of May, I just couldn't. Always wanted to get back into the groove of being careful, losing weight, staying fit, and I was still going to the gym, but as far as the food, I wasn't being careful. So the weight wasn't going that much up. It went back to where I usually end up, which is like 355, between 350 and 355. That's usually where I end up. I've been all the way up at 375 a couple of times in my life, but I didn't go there. It might have been because I was on that medication, Ozempic. It helps people to lose weight, but maybe it prevented me from gaining more weight than I would have if I wasn't on it and ate the way I did for those 5 months. So we'll never know, and honestly, it really doesn't matter. So I've been trying to get back, and what finally motivated me actually was my daughter. She's put on a little weight, like a lot of people during COVID and stuff, and you want to help, the people you love, and I'd love to talk to her about it, but when you're there, which I have been for a long time, people talking to you about it's not the most pleasant conversation. So I just didn't want to be another voice telling her that she should try to lose weight or something like that, and so I didn't know what to do about it. I want to help her, and I just didn't know how to address it. And I'm sure she was getting plenty of noise from her mother and other people. So anyway. So finally I kind of found a solution. Is how do I address this? So then I figured, well, maybe the best way that I can help her is by example. I mean, at my weight and the battle that I've been battling for so long, how can I, so if I get my head around this problem and finally get to it and start losing the weight I've been wanting to lose for years, well, that could set a nice example for her to follow. Maybe it'll motivate her to follow. So, and in my life, I tend to tends to be easier for me to help other people than it is to help myself. I don't know if a lot of people are like that, but I'm definitely one of those. Always ready to and willing to give someone a hand, but when it comes to helping myself, I'm not always there to do it. So by helping her help me, it helps me help me. Sounds a little weird, maybe the way I said it, but that's what it feels like. So this is what I came up with. I said, I had a conversation, the one that I'm explaining right now with her, and I asked for her help and to have someone on my side helping me through this process. So we agreed that we talk once a week about my progress. It has nothing to do with her. It's just me. And if what I do helps motivate her, well, good. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. But at least I'll finally get to where I want to be. So we started, I remember the date, it was May 23rd, Today we're July 20th, so it's 2 months ago. And at the same time, I had recently seen one of my cousins, Gaétan Barrette, who's the old health minister here in Quebec. And he's lost over 100 pounds in the last year. So I said, and I saw him at a funeral. Unfortunately, that's where we see some family sometimes. The only time we see them is at funerals and stuff, especially as we get older. But anyway, so we were there, and obviously seen the weight difference, and I'd seen him on TV too, so I already knew he had lost a lot of weight. And he talked about the merits of the Mediterranean diet, which is what he followed during that year, and he still follows, and that's how he lost his weight. So I said, well, I want to get started. Why not start something new? So I reached out to him, and we talked for like an hour and a half, where he just described me. I already had a notion of what the Mediterranean diet was, but he gave me like the precisions, like what to do exactly, and it's not very complicated to follow. Well, you eat more fish and and beans and tofu and tempeh and all that stuff, and that's all stuff I love eating anyway. So it wasn't a very hard turn to make, and it wasn't the protein that was difficult as much as the other parts to it. Which anyway, so I started that, and it was going well. It was on 2 weeks that I was following the Mediterranean diet. And 2 weeks after that, I talked to Nikki, who I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the author that I know in Vancouver. And she followed these videos last year. I helped her a lot with her novel, just to point out a few things as I read the rather various copies of that she wrote and corrected and improved, and I'd read it over again. I wasn't the only one. She was working with a professional writer too, and other friends that were helping her out. But I gave her my 2 cents, and that seemed to be a benefit. She benefited from that. Anyway, and she obviously she wanted to help me. She saw how much I was struggling, and how the channel that I started might have had an effect in the beginning, but it was kind of lost along the way, and eventually, like everything else, just kind of went away, and so slowly the weight came back. So she herself, there's a little bit of weight that she wanted to lose, and she went on this meal plan a while back called the Bright Lines Eating, which worked wonders for her, and she had put a little bit of that weight back on, so she wanted to go back on it. And she said she reached out to me and sent me a video, because they have like this boot camp a couple of times a year, which is like 10-week period where you do it like full. And so she sent me this video, or this link to the video that had described the whole idea behind Bright Lines Eating. We'll call it BLE, more simple, and trying to get other people to join this boot camp. So right away, I mean, I'm open to any idea. So I went on there, and I listened to these videos from I should know her name, the doctor that recorded these videos, Dr. Thompson. I forget what her first name is, but because I haven't seen those videos in a while. But anyway, I watched those videos, and this whole plan is built upon the addiction of eating the way I eat when I don't eat healthy. Now, I've thought, and I might have mentioned in past videos, that I have a certain type of addiction problem, and I demonstrated it again, like in the last year, because just like an alcoholic with alcohol or a drug addict with drugs. I mean, last fall I was doing the intermittent fasting. I was on Ozempic. The weight was coming off. I was working out. Everything was going well. I'd gone down under 340, which was often my plateau. I started losing weight when I get to 340. It kind of blocked there, and it'd stay there for a while to get discouraged, and then I start going back up. And I made it under that bar. In that process, it was going well. and I brought it down to 332, I think. And so things were going good. And this December 9th, remember the date because that's when it happened. It was my wife's Christmas party. I think I might have said this in the video before, so I'll be brief. She had a Christmas party, so I was alone for dinner. And instead of just going home and making a nice healthy dinner like I'd been doing so well for the month and a half or 2 months prior, I decided to treat myself. So I went to La Voie Maltais, which is a craft brewery, my favorite craft brewery, actually. Went there, had a nice one of those individual pizzas I enjoy they make so well, and had a couple of beers. Figured I deserved it. So that's one of the things we often we often make the mistake of doing. But it was definitely a mistake that night because, boy, when I left the restaurant heading home, I was still within my intermittent fasting, eating from like noon to 8 and Ozempic and stuff, and it wasn't that big of cheat, so I had a pizza. It wasn't the end of the world. I had 2 beers. Not the end of the world either. It shouldn't change all the progress that you've made for like a month and a half too much. You just go back to eating the way you were the next day, right? But that's not what happens with me. I left that restaurant and it just woke up my hunger. Oh boy, I was hungry and I left there and I just eaten a pizza, had a couple of beers. And shouldn't be hungry, but boy, I was. So I picked up this big poutine on the way home and basically had a second meal. And when I got home, I just shoveled that thing down real quick, and it really felt like I was out of control. And that's how I feel when I reach that point. And that led to something else and something else, maybe not the same night, but the next day, the day after, blah, blah, blah. And then my Christmas party was coming up, Christmas was coming up, New Year's was coming up. It's like, what's the point of going back to where I was? I mean, be realistic, right? It's Christmas, it's this. You'll obviously eat other things. Plus, in January, I was booked to do an ex-training group. I was to join an ex-training group with the gym. That was a 3-month intense getting back in shape type of program. And there's another blah, blah, blah in my head going, well, you'll be able to start again in January. So I let go, man. I let go and just start eating and stuff. And January came and I started the X-training. And so that was good. I did the X-training and did some really intense exercise with this wonderful group of people that were there and did the same. But I didn't stop on the food side. So it really does feel like an addiction. And I've talked about this with my doctor in the past. I've talked about this with my nutritionist. And when I talked about it, my nutritionist, she was like, she was saying that we're hearing that more and more often, but there's just no studies, on that. And I used to be a smoker. I used to smoke cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for about 20 years. And when I stopped smoking 13 and a half years ago, well, it was boom, that's it. So I always seem to find the will when I really want to do something. So I stopped smoking. It was like that, stop. It's been 13 years. I won't have one because I know that if I have one, it could be the start of heading back in that direction. So, but how do you do that with food? You can't stop eating. But anyway, if I go back to the willpower, I've demonstrated willpower like tons. I mean, on my size, all the triathlons I did, the weight losses when I did lose weight, 8 hours of cardio, biking from Montreal to Quebec. I've done it 4 times for cancer. So when I got something up here, I'm a little pig-headed, so I tend to get things done. But why can't I do that with my weight? When I'm in the right frame of mind, it happens, and I'm 100%, and it's not hard. Like I've been on bright light eating now for 6 weeks. Been 8 weeks because the first 2 weeks was the Mediterranean diet. But anyway, so and I've been picture perfect and it hasn't been hard. Just like when I stopped smoking, I don't think about it. Anyway, I'll describe what bright lines eating is, BLE is soon. But so why can't I do that with food? And it really feels like I fall off the wagon when I'll do a small little cheat and it leads to another one and a bigger one and a bigger one. And then all of a sudden I'm completely out of control. So what happens psychologically? So when I watch these videos for BLE, well, that's what they address. That's what this food plan addresses first and whatever the expression is. Sorry, it doesn't seem to be coming. Anyway, it addresses the food addiction, and so I listened to these videos, and it was like it was describing me to a T. So what are we addicted to? Well, Dr. Thompson has identified it to being two things: sugar and flour. Now, sugar, desserts and whatever, sugar's is easier to take out of a diet or a meal plan, but flour includes a lot of stuff. It really does include a lot of stuff. So, but the way she describes it, it really made sense to me. Basically, when you eat sugar or you eat flour, it creates a dopamine rush in your head, just like if you took alcohol or drugs and stuff. And the thing is over time, whatever caused the dopamine rush doesn't cause as much of dopamine, and so you need to eat more to get the same rush, and then you eat, and then more and more, and it's a never-ending cycle that creates an addiction. Same thing with alcohol. Same thing with drugs or whatever type of addiction there can be. And on top of that, she explains that insulin prevents, I think it's leptin, anyway, a certain chemical to enter that part of the brain, which helps the receptors of that dopamine. Because what happens too is the receptors that receives the dopamine, they start to not work as well. So that creates an so you're creating more dopamine or you're creating less because it's not as efficient. And on top of that, you're not receiving as much. So you have to eat even more or drink even more or take drugs even more too. Anyway, I'm talking more about food now, so I'll stick to food. So it just made a lot of sense. And it just, she was a drug addict herself. And when she stopped drugs, basically she gained a lot of weight. She put her addiction went to food instead. And then she dealt with her food addiction. And that's what this program is based on. So it really did make a lot of sense to me. So what's our bright lines? Because it's called bright lines eating. Well, basically she states 4 bright lines. And why bright lines? Because they're lines you do not want to cross. So the first one is eating sugar, never to cross that line. The second is eating flour, never to cross that line. Then the third is to stick to 3 meals a day. And what that means, I mean, we always have 3 meals a day, but it's really only those 3 meals a day, which means you don't eat anything at any time between any meal. And it's to create a certain type of automaticity. That's how she calls it, automaticity, where eating should just be an automatic function, like brushing your teeth, during and it shouldn't. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling, but and to plan those meals ahead of time. So basically, if you plan your meals ahead of time and you only eat at those certain times, then that becomes automatic. It takes away the voices that are in your head. And boy, do I have voices in my head. I mean, I can think about food, or I used to, because I don't anymore. But if someone had thought about food all day long, and it's not necessarily it's not only like cravings, but it's like, should I eat this? Should I eat that? What am I? I'll be thinking about will we eat it tonight? With this, that, blah blah blah. Or sometimes it is cravings. Oh, I'd love to have this. I'd love to have that. So it's this chatter about food that's all day long. You've been good today. You've not been good today. You've done that. You shouldn't have done that. It's a constant chatter that never stops. So by creating this automaticity and everything is planned ahead of time, you don't have to think about food anymore. It's already planned. All you have to do is when the time comes, you try to eat at the same times during the day. When the time comes, you just pull it out, you eat. When it's over, it's over. So that's the third line not to cross. And the fourth line is to measure everything. So my wife kind of laughs at this a little bit, but you know what? It works for me. So I have that scale every day. It's always out, always measuring my vegetables or whatever, my breakfast or my protein. I'm always measuring and weighing everything to be sure. And that takes away my insecurity when it comes to food. Because not only is it planned, not only don't I have to think about it, but I know that I'm eating exactly what I'm supposed to be eating. I'm an accountant, and so a deductive reasoning and logical thinking works for me. So measuring something is part of my process now. Will I always do that? I mean, I always have, like, for example, always seem to have the same breakfast, and I measure it every morning, but do I really have to? I mean, visually I could guess, but it's working, so why mess with it, So that's the fourth bright line. So basically you don't want to cross those four lines. So no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, create that automaticity, and measure everything. That's the plan right there. And then, along with that, there's also a food plan, and it's, breakfast, you have your protein, one fruit, and 1 grain. At lunch, it's 1 protein, 1 serving of vegetables. And when I say 1 serving of vegetables, it's a lot of vegetables, 170 grams, it's 6 ounces. And it's the same thing with the fruit. The fruit is 6 ounces. I tell you, when I make my bowl of like Fiber One cereal with cottage cheese or yogurt, and I put the fruit on top, I have this big mountain of fruit on top of, like now it's strawberry season. So lately it's been strawberries often. It's a lot of food to eat. So that's one thing that just reminded me. When I talk about sugar, it's refined sugar. It's sugar that's, natural sugars that are in fruit and other produce, so that's not a problem. It's really when you refine it. Actually, she makes a comparison to when you refine sugar. She'll show a picture of like the little mountain of sugar, and same thing with flour, the little mountain of flour, which is, like a little white powder. Well, beside it, she puts 2 pictures of a little mound of cocaine and a little mound of heroin, and explains that, if you eat coca leaves, it can have a certain effect, not like cocaine, but you can't become addicted to that. And poppy seeds aren't addictive either. But once they're transformed, that's where it releases a certain thing, or anyway, I forget exactly what it is. But so maybe I'm not all the way there in that comparison, comparing cocaine and heroin to sugar and flour. But in her description and her explanation, is something in there that still makes sense. So I've been having plenty of sugar in natural ways, like there's lactose in milk and fructose in fruit, but no refined sugar, no syrups, so anything that's transformed. So anyway, what was I saying before that? I seem to have lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so for lunch it's 1 protein, 1 serving of vegetables, 1 fat, and 1 fruit. And dinner, it's 1 protein, 1 serving of vegetable, 1 salad, and 1 fat as well. No fruit for dinner. So, and then that's like many plans. You have the weight loss plan, and then you have the maintenance, which comes after once you've lost the weight and you're at the weight you want to be. And because you obviously want this to be an ongoing thing, not just lose weight, because if you stop it once you lose weight and go back the way you were eating before, obviously it'll just come back on. So, and basically the maintenance, once you get the maintenance, the difference is that you could add something for each of the meals. basically lunch and dinner, it's a grain. So if you want a little bit of, if you want some rice, some potatoes, or a certain amount weighed again, well, then you can add that. And in the morning, it's, I think, an additional grain I forget. There's already a grain there, but I'm not there yet, so why worry about it, right? It'll be a long time before I get there. So anyway, I started that 2 weeks after, so I think it was the 6th of June. And it's been 6 weeks, and it's been going really great. And I've been following that, and ever since that 3-meal thing that I described, ever since I'm doing that, it's really taken away the chatter. Takes away the cravings. Do they come, the cravings? Occasionally, I'll be in the afternoon, and especially when I'm at work, because in our kitchen, we got a bunch of chocolate bars and bags of chips that they sell for like $1 or $1.50, which I used to go into, when I was there. But so it'll happen, I'll have a craving for that. But the instant I have the craving, it's like, no, you can't eat. You're eating at supper, or you've already had lunch. It's become automatic. It's only the meals. We have dinner parties. People come over, and sometimes you bring something to snack on before dinner while everybody's having a drink and stuff. And even if it's a healthy choice, I don't eat between meals. So whatever we're having, whatever the others are having, I'm not having it. I don't need it. I'm going to eat when my supper comes. And often my supper can be a little different than what I'm making for others because, there's no potatoes, no rice, no pasta. It's basically a protein and a lot of vegetables. I said one vegetable, one salad before, but you can obviously replace that salad by more vegetables. So in one day, it's 20 ounces of vegetables. Now that's about a pound and a quarter or a pound of third of vegetables. And that's a lot of vegetables to eat every day. I check my stuff on MyFitnessPal to see once in a while. And I eat 30 grams of fiber every day, and it comes from all those fruits and vegetables. So it's 2/3 of a pound of fruit and a pound and a third of vegetables. It's 2 pounds of fruit and vegetables that I eat every single day with one grain, which if I eat my fiber one, it's like an ounce of that cereal, which isn't that much. Or sometimes I'll make oatmeal or something like that. Funny thing is that grain can be some rice or some leftover potatoes to go with breakfast, but I can't have it for lunch and dinner. But hey, why question the plan when it's working so well? So it has been going well. I weighed myself this morning. I'm at 221. When was the last time I was at 221? A long time ago. It was probably at my wedding, and I'm not sure if I wasn't higher than 221 at my wedding. The year before, that's the year I'd lost the 65 pounds, went down to 300, even made it under 3 for a couple of days, and then eventually it slowly came back. I maintained it for a while, but then as we got closer to the wedding, a bit of it came back, so I probably was about that, 320, 330 at our wedding. I don't remember exactly. It doesn't really matter, but I know it's been a long time since I've been 321. I was in 2017, so it's been 6 years, and it's still going down. And my first goal is to be under 300. If you've listened to my videos, I've talked often about that 300 bar, because that's where my trainer and friend, Roberto Campo, he always been telling me that for years. Marty, at least get down to 300, Yeah, 300 is not a healthy weight, but at least get down to that. Which is coming. It's coming. I mean, I lost 32 pounds in the last 8 weeks. And I say the last 8 weeks, but it's more the last 6 weeks. It's really during the Bright Lines eating that all of this happened. And I did something that was very dangerous, especially when I described this addiction. I had a family reunion on Canada Day weekend. I was with like 35, 40 of my cousins and spouses, and we have a reunion once every 10 years. And we love the time we have together. And we usually party together and drink and have fun and eat and this and that. And I'm saying, what am I going to do that weekend? How am I going to get through that weekend without drinking? Because I've stopped all alcohol. All I drink is water. And so what will I do with that? And obviously the food that we'll be eating won't always be as healthy as the way I've been eating since I've been on BLE. But I planned my meals before going there, and I had planned not to drink alcohol. And I didn't know how I'd get around that, especially with one of my cousins, my cousin Ron. One of our favorite activities is to sample. And what does that mean? Is because we both love craft beers. And so we'll get craft beers from breweries we've never heard about, and we'll sample them together. We'll share a beer, we'll taste it and see how it is, and then we'll have another, and we'll taste that one. So it's more about the sampling than it is about the drinking, having fun that way. But last minute, Ron couldn't come because unfortunately his father wasn't well and was in a hospital. So in a weird sort of way, I mean, I wish he would have been there. It would have been great to see him and see his whole family, and that his father wasn't sick. But at the same time, I said to myself, well, there's my there's my possibility to not drink this weekend. And finally I got with my other cousins, and at first I wasn't, and then at one point I just said, well, I've been waiting 10 years for this. This weekend will be what this weekend is, and I'll just continue after, which goes completely against everything I've described in this video about my food addiction. But I took the risk. I said, the hell with it. And like every other time when I stop doing what I'm doing, it's either all or nothing. So that weekend, not only did I have beer, I had plenty of beer, and even though I had all my fruits and vegetables that were there and I had planned in advance, I ate desserts. I ate, I ate carbs. I ate what I wanted to eat, and I didn't follow my food plan at all. So for 3 days, I had weighed myself on a Friday before the weekend started. And then the Tuesday, that's my weigh-in day, so I weigh myself every Tuesday, and I gained 10 pounds over the weekend. And everybody goes, 10 pounds, oh my God. Well, most of it is, I'm someone that does a water retention. So when I watch what I eat and I eat healthy, I lose like this 10 to 15 pounds of water that I carry with me. And that's the initial weight loss. After that, it's fat and unfortunately some muscle. And for the weight gain, it's the same thing. And when I start, bringing all kinds of carbs back into my diet and alcohol and other things that create that water retention, well, it's like that. It didn't take long. So it was 10 pounds more. But I wasn't discouraged because I was expecting it. And I felt like I was playing with fire because, it's just going to fall off the wagon again. But I didn't. And I have to be really careful about that. Really careful about that, because I did go back to my plan. And a week after that I gained 10 pounds, I lost 13. So whatever water I retained, I lost, and I even lost more weight. So at least I didn't lose my progress. I mean, 2 weeks later, I was 3 pounds lighter than I was just before that party, which was a good thing. And and a week after I lost 13, I lost another 6.9, I think. So like almost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. So that 10-pound gain, and I lost another 10 pounds. So now I said I have to be careful with that, and I'll tell you why. When I stopped smoking, it wasn't the first time in my life I stopped smoking. I'd done it maybe 7, 8 years before, where I'd gone cold turkey again. It wasn't hard. It was like no problem at all. It was set up here, no more smoking. And I think it was 6 months later, I had looked at the calendar at one point, and I saw that I had stopped. It'd been 6 months. So I was all happy. I said, man, it has been 6 months. I didn't start smoking again. And it's been easy. And I was all happy about it. But I have this strange thing in my head that when I'm proud of something, that's usually when the voices come out of who knows where and want to destroy it. And that's what happened. Not long after that moment, that specific moment when I realized and I was proud that I hadn't smoked in 6 months, I had a cigarette. I only had one. And then I didn't start smoking again, at least not right away. And it was about a month after that I had a craving for another. And I said, well, you were able to take one and not start smoking again. I had the proof. I had one a month prior, and I didn't smoke between that month. So, see, you can smoke without becoming a smoker. So I had another, but then it probably took like 2 weeks before I had another. And then maybe 1 week, and then a couple of days, and then a day, and then hours, and then finally up to the day where I bought a pack and I was a smoker again. So that's why I say it's been 13 and a half years I haven't touched that stuff, but I won't have one because I know where it can lead to. So if I make a parallel to that, with what happened that weekend, I could easily say to myself, well, you had that weekend, you gained 10 pounds, it came right back off, you went back to where you were, and you're still losing weight. So that thinking could permit me to say, I can do it again, and it won't be a problem. But no, I got to make that parallel, that addiction parallel that I make with my cigarettes, that I make with flour and sugar. So I have my vacation coming up. That was my second worry about this summer, because I was starting this program before the summer, and the summer is like the hardest period for me, or for most people, I would assume, to follow a plan like this. So this summer, I was saying to myself, there was the reunion. How the hell am I going to get through that reunion while staying on this plan? I didn't. But then my 2 weeks vacation, and 2 weeks vacation is always 2 weeks vacation is always that period of time where you say, well, you're off of work, but you're off of everything else, off of exercise, it's not time to start watching your weight. You're traveling and you want to discover these nice craft breweries or nice restaurants, and you don't want to be bogged down by the way you're eating and stuff like this. So you kind of let go. I've often said in the past, before vacation, because I'm often on a weight losing type of program, that wouldn't it be nice if I actually came back from my vacation and weighed less than I did before I left? Obviously, it never happened. I always gained weight. But this will be the first year, because I'm definitely not leaving BLE on my vacation this year. And my obviously will go more to restaurants, so it does depend on what I can eat in restaurants. They're fairly accommodating, there'll always be like a chicken brochette there on the menu somewhere, and you can replace the rice with vegetables. They're usually pretty accommodating with that stuff. Just there aren't many choices on the menu often that don't have sugar or flour, and you're not making it, so you don't know what they made it with. I mean, there's sauces and there's different things. So to choose something that's really within your plan, it's hard. It's hard to find, but it is always possible. And so if I'll have, I'll probably eat something that was prepared with maybe some flour, some sugar, and I won't know about it. And, well, so be it. But I will not go back to just eating French fries or eating whatever I want during the vacation because I'm on vacation. I'm still following the 3-meal plan. I will still not eat between my meals, and I still will not have alcohol, which I informed my wife the other day, and she's like, really? She's like, what about if, because one of the things we like to do on vacation is like visit like the craft breweries or distilleries or vineyards to taste and sample their stuff. And no, I mean, we'll go. If she wants to sample, she can sample. I won't prevent my wife from doing it. And that's another fun thing, is that it doesn't bother me. I mean, she'll have dessert beside me, and it's fine. She'll have ice cream, or she'll eat rice, or it doesn't bother me. It's the same thing with cigarettes. When I stopped cigarettes, when I was set up here, I don't know if it's that pig-headed thing in my brain, but it really doesn't bother me. The other day, I went to get my oil change on the car, And beside the garage is an ice cream place that puts a caramel spread. They're known for their caramel spreads that you put on toast in the morning usually, but that they mix in with their soft ice cream. And I haven't had it yet because they opened not that long ago, and I was already on this plan. So she was like, can you get me a bowl of that ice cream when you come back? I was like, sure, no problem. So, the whole drive back, I got the ice cream right there in my hand. I've never tasted it. And then I get home and I give it to her, and she eats it. You want to taste it? I'm like, no. What's the point? The only... and one of the big differences with the plan that I'm following is that I'm not preventing myself from eating those stuff. I do not want to eat those stuff. I see something that has sugar in it, I see that mound of cocaine. As stupid as that may sound. I see something that has flour, it's the same thing. I know now I for many years now I've been wanting to make that parallel between how I was able to stop smoking and how to eat in a way to lose weight. How come I can't hold it? And what was my addiction? I knew I had a food addiction, but it was very vague. It's malnutrition. It's, I don't know. But now it's specific. It's sugar. It's flour. That's it. I'll take any package and look at the ingredients, because everything, when you're in your fruits and vegetables, it's easy to choose your protein as well. But if you get anything that's in the aisles of a grocery store, you pick up the box, you look at the ingredients. If I see the word sugar or the word flour in the first three ingredients, that's the rule, I won't buy it. Or I won't consume it. I might buy it for Julie, but I won't buy it for myself. So it's been easy. I have these dinner parties now. Even my in-laws are on it. So often she'll work her meal around it, or at least make something a little different for me that works with my plan. And people keep asking me, is it hard not to like have some fries or this and that? And it's like, no, not at all. It's not that I'm restraining from having it or preventing myself. I really don't want them, because I know what kind of reaction they can create. So why would I want something that does that? So that's what it's been like for 8 weeks, or 6 weeks, and we continue onward. We continue onward until we finally get down to at least 230. That's 300 was my level with Roberto. But when I met my trainer, Patrick LaBelle, who influenced me in so many great ways in terms with exercise and being motivated for that, he's a very big motivator, and he was a lot of help, just as Roberto has been. And when I had met him, he had told me he asked me what my ideal weight was. At the time, I weighed 375. That's when I got to my heaviest. And I said 230, because I remembered what I weighed when I was 230. Well, this is 230 right there. I don't know if you can see that. It's an old picture. It was like 2021 or something. It was in Acapulco. But anyway, so I just remember the last time I was at 230, which wasn't that picture, because I stayed a lot around 250. 255, went up to 260, sometimes down to 240. And when I met my first wife, I lost a lot of weight in the beginning, and I got it down to 230. And when I got to 230, I was really I was trim. I was, because I'm not a small guy besides the fat. So at 230, I was pretty trim. To look like that again, it might take less than 230, because I'm pretty sure I've lost muscle along the way with all these diet plans and everything. And I know I'm losing a little bit of that muscle now, even though I'm working out and being careful and eating tons of protein. But I'll lose some, so who knows what it will be. But that target that I had with Patrick LaBelle was 230, and it was with him that I lost 65 pounds, brought it down to 309, and kept going after, because it was a 12-week thing, and so I had lost 65 pounds in 12 weeks. But then after that, we kept going, and a few months later, I actually made it under 300. And our eventual goal, or my eventual goal, was to get down to 230. And the funny thing is, was to get from 375 to 230, I I um I had to lose 145 pounds. So when I said that, Patrick started laughing, and I was wondering, I want to lose 145 pounds. What's so funny about that? Is the number too big? And then finally he said, no, sorry. It's just because that's how much I weigh. So then it became a big joke. So I wanted to lose Pat. I want to lose the Pat in me. I want to lose that 145 pounds. And the clothes that I was wearing that day, I still have them. They're a little rugged now because I wore them so often at the gym, but they're clean and they're put away for the day when I get to 230, and I'll show up at Patrick's doorstep and we'll wear that clothes together. That was the plan. So I kept the shorts and the T-shirt. So basically we'll just like try to slip them on with both of us inside just to demonstrate that I lost Pat. Anyway, one thing at a time, one step at a time. We're not there yet. Obviously, I'm very positive. Everything's been going really well, and I finally feel like I'm in control of something that's been out of my control for so many years. But I try to be careful with that because I've felt in control before in other plans, and I've lived the success of other plans too, intermittent fasting or whatever. I've been through them all, but this is different because now I'm dealing with the addiction, and every craving or every other thing that could come is just not there anymore, because whatever type of thought like that can come to my head, I go right away to the addiction, the same way that I did with cigarettes, and I still do with cigarettes. I won't have that one cigarette. So it doesn't matter how many dinner parties I have and how many desserts go under my nose, or ice cream or whatever other food that I don't want to be eating because I'm addicted to them. Well, that's it. I don't. And my vacation will be the same. I'm planning on going sailing. What I said, July 20th today. I'm planning a weekend of sailing the August 19th and 20th, which is exactly a month away. And I already know what I'm going to be having for lunch and breakfast those 2 days. I'm sleeping on the boat. The only thing I don't know is Saturday night, because I'll probably have dinner with the captain. But whatever it is, it'll be according to my plan with some form of protein and a ton of vegetables. But I already know exactly what I have for lunch. So that's how far I am in my planning, when we'll leave on our vacation, our first day, we have a 7.5-hour drive. We're leaving like at 6 a.m. What will we do normally? We might bring some things to snack in the car and stuff, maybe even a breakfast or something, but the easy choice is always to stop at Tim Hortons to have a breakfast sandwich and to stop at some fast food joint for lunch. And because you got a lot of driving to do, and you don't want a sit-down restaurant where you can get something that's probably better for your health. But I already know what I'm having for breakfast. Sometimes Julie and I, we make that cold oatmeal, where the night before you mix oatmeal with milk and plain yogurt, and you dump some fruit in there, and by the next morning it's absorbed the milk, and you have your oatmeal. It's cold instead of warm, but it's still delicious, especially with all that fruit. So that's what I'll take with me. And if Julie wants a breakfast sandwich by stopping at Tim Hortons, fine, she can have it. I'll eat my yogurt or my oatmeal, and I'll have the same thing for lunch. One of my easiest go-tos for lunch is I eat raw vegetables. Cherry tomatoes, usually it's three. It's baby carrots, cherry tomatoes, and bell peppers. So when you have 10 ounces of that, because I tend to split my vegetables. I said it was 6 ounces before, but 6 at lunch, 6 at supper. But an 8-ounce salad, that's 20 ounces. Well, I take 10 ounces of vegetables at lunch and 10 ounces of vegetables at supper. So anyway, that's usually, I have this big bowl full of like cherry tomatoes and baby carrots and bell peppers, and It takes me forever to eat that thing. So by the time I'm done, I'm fed up of eating anyway. And I usually have a protein. And if I'm on the road, what's easy? Get a can of sardines, a can of tuna, a can of, I have some of those cans where it's a marinated chicken and stuff. And all great proteins and easy to carry. No need to keep it cold. And you're on your way. Mind you, we will have our a cooler, our electric cooler that we plug into the car. So if I wanted something that has to stay cold, like for the protein, like a leftover piece of fish or something, well, I can do that too. But at least I already know that day I will not be eating at Tim Hortons or any other fast food during that drive. I'll have my 2 meals with me. And if Julie wants to stop at one of them or both of them, it's fine. I'll sit in the parking lot. She'll eat her burger, and I'll eat my veggies and stuff. And often, though, she tends to do like me because she'd like to lose weight too. So when she sees me making that better choice instead of going through fast food, and I'm already making it for myself, she'll say, "Well, make it for me too," and she'll skip on that fast food. So great. If that's helping her at the same time, well, fantastic. It's a bit what these videos are about. It's not only, it's to work out this stuff in my head, but it's also, hey, if it can help other people, well, thank God. So BLE, it really works. And one interesting change that I've noticed, that I talked to my doctor, because I saw my doctor on July 3rd, and I told him all of this. Oh, I almost forgot. When I started BLE, it was June 6th. It was a Tuesday. And the Thursday, that's when I have my Ozempic. Ozempic is that medication to help lose weight and help with your diabetes. And I've always been borderline diabetes, and I'm even under the official mark of what when you officially have type 2 diabetes. I was once last fall where I was at that mark, the exact mark, which is like 0.65 or whatever measurement. But a month later, I was back down in what they call pre-diabetes. So I'm pre-diabetes and stuff, and I prick my finger often. I prick my finger often to check my sugar levels, and it's always normal. It's never above what it's between 4 and 8 or 4 and 7, depending on what time of the day. If it's before the meal, after the meal. Once I was above in 6 months. Once I was above the normal range. So do I really have a sugar problem in my blood? I don't know. So anyway, I was taking this Ozempic, and I was feeling so good while I was eating the way I was eating on BLE. Then 10 days later, not Tuesday, but Thursday, but the following Thursday, I had to renew my prescription, because when you get a prescription is for 4 weeks. It's 4 doses. And I didn't renew it. I said, fuck it. I said, enough with this Ozempic, which was a risk, because people that stop taking Ozempic, that weight flies up right away, right at the beginning. And you know what? I kept losing weight, even by stopping the Ozempic. I mean, Ozempic works in certain ways, and it worked for me, but if you don't watch what you're eating at the same time, it's not a magic product. So I stopped it, and I kept going on with BLE, and I kept losing weight, even though I just stopped Ozempic, which usually everybody that stops at least in the beginning, put some weight back on real quick. So when I saw my doctor a month later, I said, I stopped taking it. And he's like, really? And have you gained weight? I said, no, I've kept losing weight. And his eyes kind of popped open. He went, oh, that's a rare thing. It's a rare thing. And the reason I brought my doctor up too was because, excuse me, got a message there. Is that one of the things I was describing to him? I was describing a lot of the things that I'm describing in this video about BLE and other things, the addiction and this and that. But is that I'm starting to feel the sensation of hunger. Because as much as I eat and as big as I am, I have cravings because I just want to eat stuff. Even if I'm not hungry, I'll still crave for food. It's not about satisfying a hunger. It's just about eating. So I never feel hungry. So whenever I go, maybe that's why it's easy for me to go on any plan, because I'm never hungry. And like BLE, those 3 meals, and they're they're bulky with it because there's a lot of vegetables and fruits and vegetables and stuff. But in terms of calories, there's not that many. So you would think I'd be starving, but I'm not. And but now I'm starting to feel the sensation of hunger, which I haven't felt in I don't know how many years. As I get close, like right now, it's 6:30 in the morning. I usually have breakfast at 8. I'm starting to feel it a little bit, that hunger. So when I told my doctor that, he was just smiling. Though this whole conversation I'm having with this camera I had with my doctor, and he just looked at me and said, "You know what? It sounds like your body's like um, having some sort of reset." And you know what? That's exactly what it felt like. He put his finger right on it. That's what it feels like. It feels like a reset, and that's why I'm so positive and feels so good, and it's even easier to maintain the plan. It really feels that way. And if I go back to the initial videos that I watched when I started this whole thing, that's one of the things that she described. By eating this way and without the sugar and the flour, you start controlling your insulin levels. The insulin stops that. It takes away that barrier from the leptin, I think I said, or anyway, from that whole dopamine and receptors thing that goes on, and it kind of resets the whole system, so that now you do get the proper amounts of dopamine by eating well, and that whole system of receiving that dopamine and the joy that you get from eating is there without the addictive side to it. So I guess that's it, because that's what I'm feeling. And boy, I've been talking for 57 minutes. This must be my longest video. Well, it's been 5 months. I guess I had a lot of things to say, and I wanted to go through this whole program. So it's been going really well. Now, like I said, it's 6:30. So I have to head to the gym. I haven't been going to the gym as often as before. It's really been about the eating. And even in her program, she suggests that people should not exercise, which is weird because most programs suggest you do. And the reason for that is, for one thing, since you're eating a lot less calories and a lot less things that bring energy like sugar and flour, you don't have the energy that you normally have. And I've lived it. When I go to the gym, I can still do my spinning sessions because I've done so many that I can keep the energy for that. But I get on the elliptical or I get on the step to do some cardio. The legs get tired pretty quick. I don't have the energy that I had. I can still work out. It's just I can't crazy work out like I used to do sometimes. So, and the other reason why she suggests, unless you're someone that already exercises regularly and already has that set in them, which is my case. You know, I'm in this frame of body. I always go to the gym and always go for a swim and this and that. So I have exercised, and I will continue to exercise because it helps. But because the reason it's like you don't want to start something new, like a new gym program, because that takes a lot of willpower, and we have so much willpower. She wants to keep the willpower to the way you're feeding yourself. And that kind of made sense because I get it involved in all kinds of things. If it's losing weight, if it's exercising, preparing for a triathlon, writing, doing voice work, it's like I'm separating my will. That all those things take a lot of willpower to maintain because you don't feel like doing it sometimes. And so if you only have one thing to worry about and one thing to bring willpower to, the more chance you have of success. And that didn't make a lot of sense. So, but like I said, since I am one of those people that was already exercising regularly, I go to the gym, especially when I'm work, because it's right there next door and I have nothing else to do in my lunch hour except have lunch. So I go to the gym, have lunch after, and that's it. I might not go as often as I used to, but when I have a chance, I do go. I mean, hey, can't hurt. So that's it. I've reached my 1 hour mark. I'm 10 seconds away. Wow, what a long video. So this is the type of video I had in the beginning when I started my YouTube channel, where I just turned on the mic and started talking. And because in the middle of all of that, sometimes I would start the video over because it wasn't exactly what I was trying to say. It was that, like I said before, it was planned, and it just wasn't as natural. So I don't know if anybody's going to go through this whole hour and listen to this thing, but it's principally to help me. So there you go. I like talking about this plan now. In the beginning, it was kind of I don't know. It sounds so restrictive, and I guess in a certain way it is, because like I said, flour's in so many things. So there's a lot of things that I can't eat, but in my mind, it really isn't. That's not how those things are labeled. It's not I can't eat them. It's I don't want to eat them. So it's when you don't want something, it's not hard to prevent you from having them. You know, I really don't want them. So I plan eating like this for the rest of my life, basically. Because I don't, just like an alcoholic, I'll never drink again. A drug addict, I'll never drink again. Well, I'm a sugar and flour addict, and I plan on staying away from it all the time, even once I get to that 230 weight or whatever weight it will be. And it was one last thing I will say. Every time, 145 pounds is a big number, and it's more like 120 pounds because I often started at 350 in the last years and stuff. But that number is so big. It's like this big hill that you can't see the finish line, because so you're always told to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Yes, it's true. That's what we should do, because you can get discouraged if you don't. But honestly, this time, I mean, I've only lost 32 pounds, which means I have 90 pounds to go about. Because I started, was 152, 352, 353. So to get down to 230 was like 120 pounds. So I still have 90 pounds to lose, but it doesn't feel like that much of a big figure anymore. I just seem to know inside that, just like I knew I wouldn't touch a cigarette again, that I know I will now finally get to that number. So I have to be careful when I say stuff like that, because like I said before, sometimes when I'm proud, or sometimes when I'm happy that I'm successful at something, that's when the shit happens and I do something to sabotage it. But I don't know, I'm not feeling it. That voice in my head, ever since I've stayed away from sugar and flour and follow the plan and just have no more thoughts about food. It's nice. So, got to go to the gym. Don't got to. I want to. So, I'll see you later. Bye.